Welcome to Containment Breach 3-minute meets, not a damn one of which have been 3 minutes. I'm Christian DeMatteo, co-founder of Fugitive Poems Comics, and we're getting ready for the Kickstarter release of Containment Breach Volume II, Myth Reborn. And I have with me today one of our fantastic contributors, Jeremiah Schiek. Jeremiah, how are you?
I'm doing well, Christian. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm people don't realize this, but Jeremiah and I have been talking on Twitter for years, and I don't know if Jeremiah realizes, but he's a major part of my entry into the world of independent comics. Seeing what he was doing while James and I were doing what we were doing was so heartening and exciting. And Jeremiah, I got to thank you for that.
Thank you.
At Schiekopedia, am I right?
That's it. Yes.
And it's SCHIEKOpedia?
Apedia.
APEDIA. At Schiekopedia is his, and I gotta tell you, from the professional stuff to the personal stuff that Jay puts up there, it's a real bastion of light on Twitter. And even if you're not looking for that, his art is badass. I mean, oh my Lord, the stuff that you put out. I have gotten, who was I telling this to? On one of the other interviews I did, I was saying, maybe it was with Marissa, I have gotten lost. I've gotten lost in your website. And there's so much great stuff there.
I still need to update it a bit too. I've been, that's been a major resource and kind of like a standby for me for, I would say, like, finding new work, meeting new people. It's for anybody who's trying to make it out there as an artist or getting started. Even like a free website that you can create a gallery on is, I would say, a must. Because I mean, you can post things on Twitter, but it gets buried. You know, that's a game that you've got to continually play. Whereas a website is something you can put out there. You can send the link to people. Boom, they can visit at their leisure, and you don't get lost in it. Which is,
what is your website?
It is www.jschiek.com. That's JSCHIEK.com.
Who the heck are you? Let's start with that.
Well, if you've ever seen a missing person's face on a milk carton, I'm not the missing person. I'm the milk carton. I'm a boy. It's a tough. It's like a existential dilemma to answer. I was largely self-trained, but I've gotten I'm an artist. I guess that's kind of it. I like to create. I'm a receptacle for undiscovered universes, just as everybody else is. I think that we all have universes inside of us that are waiting to have their big bang and expand, and I'm kind of in the early evolution of my own.
I love that. And you write as well as draw, and so the universes are pretty literal inside. It's not just you're creating the storylines to go with the visuals very often.
It's a story idea pops into my head, or a character who wants to say something, and I keep a pen on hand, I grab a notebook, and I'll start jotting it out. My wife complains about it, and if I carry this computer around, I could show you the garage where I keep my stack of archived notebooks of unfinished stories and ideas. But
that's sort of that. I hate to use the cliche of the gift and the curse, but I read somewhere somebody said that becoming a writer, and I think you could insert any kind of creator here, is like giving yourself homework for life.
Yeah.
And that just resonated through my brain. It's like, if I had a job in a lamp factory, as I look at a lamp in my office, and making lamps, when I came home, unless I was some sort of lamp savant, I'd be done with that part of my day. That's my new goal. I want that on a card, lamp savant. But
I love
I love lamp. But I'm constantly, my mind is constantly rolling. It's constantly thinking of things and creating. And when I do, the problem is that when I don't, I feel guilty. When I sit down and to do something else, there's some nagging voice saying, you know what you should be doing.
Yeah, I know that voice very well. It's like run into these what I call a wall of awful, where you're just standing at the base of a mountain of indecision, and it's just like trying to climb over it. But each approach you just find yourself cut off, or it's like this is too difficult, or even when it's an easy task, sometimes
Yeah,
it can be very and it's like isolating and also very constraining.
absolutely, absolutely. But then when it works,
Oh, it's amazing. It's like you're just puking art. It's awesome.
there's no better feeling when it's just happening. And you constantly have something going on. One of the things I wanted to mention is your Sandman tarot cards.
Oh yeah.
I'm fascinated, as you can see, by tarot cards in general. I'm actually using them and have been for years to write the comic that got James and I together that we haven't released yet. It's the background, it's the real reason that Fugitive Poems even formed. And I'm sort of using the tarot cards a little bit the way Philip K. Dick used the I Ching to write Man in the High Castle. It was a little experiment I was doing. But I'm also a massive fan of the Sandman. And Jay has been putting out these beautifully, beautifully crafted, gorgeously drawn tarot cards. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
It was kind of it started off, I did the death card. If you've read Sandman, death is portrayed as a woman, looks, very 80s goth. And I put her in like a field of poppies, and she just looks very, serene and relaxed out there. For me, like reading Sandman and encountering death in there really changed my perspective on the idea of dying, what it is, what it means, and your impact when you're alive, and then that final impact when you go. And I was just blown away by the whole thing, and that was just kind of where it was going to start and end, was the death card. I just wanted to make this tarot card. I'm like, well, I got some ideas for some others, and the response was huge. People loved them. I even got a couple of retweets from Neil Gaiman on Twitter, so some of them went kind of through the stratosphere in terms of likes and retweets, and that's like finding the ego sweet spot and just giving it a good scratch behind the ears. So I kind of kept going with it. And actually I was working on a new one today. It's been quite a while since I've done one, and I was making the tower, which I'm depicting as the dollhouse from the second volume, Sandman.
Oh wow. I got to tell you, when Neil Gaiman, he didn't just retweet you, he quoted. He wrote something on the I reacted like I had drawn the damn things. I was so excited for you. I'm like, oh my goodness, Neil Gaiman saw it. I was so happy for you. And I was so happy for Neil, because the idea of putting your work out there, especially before the internet, artists put their work out there, whatever kind of art you do, it was in a vacuum. If you've got a painting hanging in the Museum of Modern Art, that's awesome, but you don't know what everyone that sees it thinks of it, right? You don't get. And Ray Bradbury, before he died, I wrote to him to let him know, that I'm sure, one of the zillion of people out there who started writing because of him, and I just needed him to know that. Because I felt like, wouldn't that be something to know? You put out the book, the sales of the book, but you don't know what it does to people. And I wrote to him, I said, you SOB, if I hadn't read your book, I would have studied accounting and I'd have money right now. But instead, no, that's not what I said. No, I had to tell him that he instilled in me a love of words. The understanding of the worlds that they could create and what they could do and the nuance of them. I learned from Ray Bradbury the one sentence paragraph. I didn't know before I read Bradbury that you could do that when I was a kid. And I just wanted him to know that. So when Neil Gaiman sees your work and then comments on it and helps put it out into the universe, I mean, that really is I was so happy for you. And you had earned that, because the cards are stunning. They're stunning. I keep telling you, just finish it up and tell me where to give you my money, because I want them.
Yeah, I'd love to have a printed set in my hands one of these days. The only issue is and I've been very careful to promote it as fan art specifically, since I'm not licensed to be able to draw Sandman through DC. I don't know that they offer licensing on that one or not. You know, like Colleen Duran does a lot of Sandman work, but I mean, she worked on the series back in the
Yeah.
80s and 90s. So there's I don't know if she's implicit to it, but yeah, it's one of those things I'm kind of hoping like, well, I've completed it. Can we miraculously make this okay for me to print and get into people's hands?
I hope so, but I'm just glad it exists. If I only ever get the images on Twitter, I'll be happy. I love it.
All right.
Let me ask you, what are you doing for Containment Breach?
I am doing a kind of whimsical story. I do a lot of crime and horror that I get known for. This one is a little bit of a detour from that, or a sudden left turn. I went a little bit Darwin Cook with the artwork. My background is in animation. That's what I got my BFA in. So I was kind of relying on skills that I learned when I was taking storyboarding classes and creating a story that it's a very shifting kind of thing, deals with childhood desires and, the will of the child versus the will of the parent in the context of a very prominent mythical character who's been seen on television and other comics. And I don't know if I can say the name or not, but I mean, it's rhymes with Jerkules.
They'll never know. The will of the child versus the will of the parent. We could use that as the title for my daily life.
It's like the wishbone that never breaks,
Yeah, I maybe an hour before our meeting right now, JL sent out Marissa's flats.
Oh yeah, I got a quick peek at a couple pages.
Holy cow. Holy cow. And talking to Marissa and Leland and JL, you guys are a team of creatives. And you don't always see that. A lot of times you see a creator and the people that are doing what needs to be done around it, which is awesome too. But
yeah,
you guys, I talking to each of you, there is such an understanding of individual craft, your part in it, and really bringing it, how your section of it brings it to life, and your art, and then with now Marissa's flats on it, this thing is stunning. And it is funny because it's so beautiful and fun. And I expected you, because of you, I expected it to be horror as well, or something, so here's a little secret about our submission. James and I, my mind went very dark with my prompt, and we have a dark horror story. So I wrote to everybody, don't worry about, we got an R rating on this. Do what you want to do. Well, the only people that fully took advantage of that are James and I. So our story is going to be it's this dark chasm of evil in the center of this otherwise enjoyable tale. So we have to figure out where to put ourselves so we don't throw off the vibe of everyone else's stories. But you seeing you do something like this, seeing you go from what I've seen you do, and I already knew you were versatile, but this sustained whimsy, the thought that's always in my head is, holy crap, Jay can do anything. I'm amazed by it.
I can do some stuff. Thank you. I like the idea of that contrast. That's pretty cool. Like you get a themed anthology, you read one story and you can expect to get a similar experience when you get to the next one.
Right.
And having a book like that, it takes you places, and it takes you different places from one to another.